Welcome to the Generation Open podcast with LDR21, a podcast about workplace culture and leadership that leads to transparency and an open organization. Today we'll be talking about co-working with Chad Kimberlin and Corey Wardell from Rome, based in Atlanta, Georgia. Here's your host, the founder and CEO of LDR21, Jen Kelchner.
And Rome is spelled R-O-A-M, which what's kind of behind that name? Let's just start with that.
You know, what we say now is it stands for, oh, God. Got it. Oh, I got it. Okay. All right. We're back. Well, you know, it actually, what we talk about now is it stands for reimagining offices and meetings, which has really been an evolution of the brand since it was launched several years ago.
Awesome. So, Corey, I'm going to kind of boot it to you to get us started. What is co-working space for those that are unfamiliar with co-working as a term or what that actually means?
Yeah. So I think when I think about co-working, I think about the folks who typically use us. So I think about the work from home types, those folks who are kind of hopping around town. They might work from a Starbucks or a Panera. And so what we do is we create an environment for them to come in, to be productive, to collaborate with their customers, their clients, their colleagues. And so when you walk into one of the Rome spaces, it's really just a mix of all kind of different areas that are designed to help people do just that. So it's kind of a lounge area. There's more of a structured kind of table and chair seating area, and then our breakout rooms as well. So a little bit of everything.
Awesome. So I want to kind of talk about this workplace. We've been talking about future of work for a while. It's kind of been a trendy topic, and what does that mean? And I think for me, which is why I wanted you guys to be on here, is co-working, I think, sets that stage for future of work. You know, the mobility aspect, what people are looking for. Hopefully not looking for. But you know, one of those things that we focus on with our work at LDR21 is about having this multi-generational workforce and how that's such a challenge, and how do we approach the influencers and the dynamics and the desires and the needs for all of us to work differently. I personally need to be around other people, so I don't do well in a traditional office space because I feel confined and chained to a space. But co-working for me is amazing, not just as starting a new business, but being able to have the freedom to, you know, team with amazing staff like you have, because you guys, I consider you part of my team already, absolutely. Extension of it, but also the ability to meet other like-minded people and kind of draw off that energy. So, you know, co-working is definitely being used as a way to stay engaged, to be more creative. We're also entering what's called a freelance society. And futurists continue to forecast that in the United States alone, which they say actually matches the global statistics as well, that by 2040, 40% of our workforce will be self-employed. Less than 30% will actually be in full-time work. So we're talking about over 30 plus hours a week. But going back to that self-employment piece, if we're already close to 40% right now are in full-time work, and I think we'll continue to see that trend moving more and more and more. People like to work for themselves, be independent contractors, which influences our need for spaces like Rome. And then remote work at this point has become mainstream, with 25% of all U.S. employees work remotely, all or most of the time, and that's according to a recent Gallup poll. So it's reasonable then to look at co-working space as part of our solution to our social changes and our workplace shifts that we've been seeing. What do you guys think about that? Have you noticed that, I mean, obviously with being in this industry, you've noticed some of these changes as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny. What we talk about is we exist to help remove the barriers to entry of self-employment and entrepreneurship. You know, so you think about 40%, we've seen the same figures. And the reality is when you think about one of the barriers to entering entrepreneurship or starting your own business, and you can speak to this recently, you know, this is the world you're living in right now. Most of the people that are self-employed, they started in a large corporation of some kind, right, where they had all the resources they needed. So they went to an office, they sat at a desk or a cubicle, right? They had an IT department, they had a marketing department, they had, you know, the creative types, they had technology support. What happens is you go and you start your own company, and you're quickly realize you are all those things, right? Your HR, which some people are okay with, your technology, your creative, your all the above. So what we've seen is really what is one of the barriers to entering and really succeeding as an entrepreneur or as a somebody who owns their own company is just a lack of resources or access to those services or those things that you really depended on to succeed in the past. So what for us, it's how do we help those 40% and even those 25%, frankly, but those 40% especially that are self-employed, how do we help them succeed? Part of it is creating the environment where they can come every day or come in and out as they need to, based on the style of their work, and within our community provide those services. So we don't necessarily provide them, but you have access to other members who will help. Whether it's marketing, build a website, an app, communications people, whatever it is. That's one of the beauties of I think what we get to do every day. And we see people that come in. That's what's fun about what we do is we see people that come in who have literally just launched their companies. They've left a large company and they've started a company, from the ground up every single day. They're excited, but man, it's hard. Yeah. It's really hard. And that's what we feel like we get to come alongside and help them do that.
It's definitely community.
That's right. And I think to add on to that, there's that emotional element, right? And I think for us, that's where this idea of community actually comes into place, right? Because as a team, what we talk about is when we are engaging with our members and we're kind of trying to put ourselves in their shoes, we're thinking about what is Jen thinking through or struggling with when she walks through those front doors, and what are the other members? And it's, am I going to pick up another client? Am I growing at the pace that I need to be growing? Where is my investment coming from? Who am I going to get? And that's tough. That's heavy. There's a lot going on. And so I think that's really where this idea of community actually gets played out, right? Because you are working alongside of 200 to 1,000 plus at Rome people who are all in the same exact position you are. And I think that's the part that is comforting, I think community can kind of just get thrown out and becomes a buzzword, but I think when you put the meat behind it like that, it's actually incredibly valuable and helps a place like Rome make a lot of sense.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you because there were, even last year I had a few months where I was spending at home in my home office. And if I had a day where I felt like the struggle was so real, I wasn't going to get up tomorrow, you don't have anybody else to go pick you up or just to give you a pat on the back and go, it's okay, you're doing great today. Or, hey, have you met so-and-so? That's right. Which could be that person that then, sparks that next idea or the next relationship you need. So I know for me, that's why it's been super beneficial is to have the community. So you guys come from non-co-working industry backgrounds. What drew you to co-working as an industry?
That's a great question. You want to start?
Yeah. So I'm a CPA by background, which is quite a bit different than running a co-working space. But I think for me, there were a couple of things. There's always been sort of that allure of kind of running your own business and what does that look like? How does it actually get played out? And so for me, the opportunity to come and work here not only provided that for me personally, but allowed me to do it while rubbing shoulders with other folks who are doing, again, the same exact thing, right? So now part of, the reason that we love engaging with the members so much is because, the reality is we're picking each other's brain up. What's working, what's not working, what are you guys doing? Oh, I really like that idea. We should try that. And so it's just a really neat environment to be able to, figure that out. The other kind of, fun thing for us is we always joke, no one is quite doing it like we are. And that's fun. It's challenging. It's hard. It takes a long time. But the reality is we're all kind of getting to put our stamp on this industry and this company of Rome. And we're getting to build and create things that just, a few years ago didn't exist. And so that was a big allure for me. And then I think, my research into the industry, you're naming a lot of the statistics where a business model like Rome or a business model for co-working just makes a ton of sense. The reality is you can see the sustainability of something like this, or you can see the future growth of something like this just by looking at the research, just by looking at the data.
Absolutely. And Chad, before I let you continue, I'm going to speak to Corey's statistics. So one of those because I had to go do my own homework on because this is not my industry. But by 2020, it's projected that 26,000 spaces and 3.8 million members would be utilizing co-working globally, which is a pretty strong number to think about.
Yeah.
And I think what blew my mind even more is that the underpinning of that was the belief is that there are an additional 22 million in the United States alone that could be using co-working space that currently aren't.
Yeah.
So you're tapping into a market that's just ripe with opportunity. Absolutely.
Yep.
So Chad, what drew you into this?
Yeah, it's
into
funny.
this
Actually,
market?
I was a member before I joined the company.
Okay.
And so similar to you, Jen, so I came from a large organization that was, one of the largest nonprofits, and had, everything at my disposal that I needed, had a team, and, had whatever I needed to succeed. And so left and started with a small consulting company that didn't have any of those things. And so one of those, we didn't have an office and a lot of times we were on site with clients, and, we were doing strategic planning and change management. But on those days where we weren't on clients and I needed to get work done, I found myself at Starbucks and I found myself at Panera. And other than smelling like coffee in my bag, smelling like coffee when I got home, it wasn't the most productive environment for me. It was better than sitting at home. And I found that when I was at home, it wasn't even that I was distracted as much as I just had low energy at home when I was by myself. And so there were days that, and there are some people who love working from home. They can't imagine not working from home. I'm not that person. I need the social interaction. Even if I'm not ever speaking to somebody, there's just something about being around other people that I need. I need that for my own productivity. So actually, we had a client that had a member that was a member at Rome and Alpharetta. And I remember walking in and thinking, this is brilliant. I wish I had thought of this, And so I ended up joining personally, and that's where that became my office. And so what I experienced was it wasn't, and I didn't realize the strategy behind the Rome or strategy. I just experienced it as a member, and I got to know the team. Like you said earlier, the team became like an extension of my team, right? They became an extension of my brand. So we hosted client meetings there. I would have, I would work out of there, conference calls, whatever I needed. I would regularly do that at Rome. But I had the interaction, I had the camaraderie, but I wasn't sort of forced into it, right? So there was enough space where I could work and I could concentrate and I could have the social interaction as I needed. And then going back to what Corey said, I mean, for me, one of the things I'm really passionate about, we all are, is organizational culture. And so when I realized the match that really Rome is creating culture for hundreds of other companies like yours or others that are sitting beside you, we have the opportunity to impact culture, organizational cultures, in a much larger scale than even as a consultant, where you're going in one organization at a time. That's pretty exciting for me. And like you said, you mentioned those statistics. The market is so huge, and even the percent of people using co-working spaces is so small compared to what the potential is out there. And so, and nobody's really figured it out yet, frankly. I mean, I think everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and we're all still trying to figure out what's the right mix. I actually like that too. If it was all figured out, none of us would be here. But it's.
Well, I think that's part of it, right? If we had the template, where would be the fun?
That's right.
In figuring out what works for you in the market. So for those that are just joining in, we're with Chad and Corey of Rome, ROAM, and you can find them at meet@rome.com. And we're in the Atlanta market. Currently, there are 4. This is the other thing I love about you guys versus some of the competitors who are also doing really well, but we're talking about templates and not having this kind of this turnkey feel when you go in. And so that's something that you guys are great about. So currently the 4 locations in the Atlanta market and one coming later in 2017, because of this growth and the stability that we see in the industry, and definitely a need. I mean, for me, I have a 3-mile drive to my office, which is great in Atlanta, because everybody knows, even if they haven't visited here, they've heard about the horror stories of traffic.
It's true.
So to be able to find a Rome location. And so I'm going to kind of set this up for you about what makes Rome different before we kind of finish talking about the industry in and of itself. But one of the things that's great is you're a member of one, you're a member of all.
Right.
So it really is that true community feel. So I can hop to any one of those locations to meet with a client or have a meeting. So what are some of the other things that make Rome different? What are we doing differently here that we haven't necessarily seen yet in the rest of the co-working industry that makes it special?
Yeah.
So
aside from you guys really make it special.
We're pretty amazing.
But the model itself, what makes it so different?
Yeah. I think for us, as far as the model is concerned, it's kind of, we have the solution from just the individual up to the large Fortune 500 company. And that's what I think is really kind of one of the backbones of our model. We have co-working space. So if you're just looking for a place to get away from the house or not work in Starbucks anymore, put your head down and be productive, great, we have something for you. If you're a Fortune 500 company looking to host a training, seminars, to do one-on-one, interviews and things like that, we have a solution for you. If you're a 5 to 10 person company who needs to collaborate once a week together, but then the rest of the time you're off kind of individually getting things done, we have a solution for you. And so I think that, again, when you talk about the size of the market and then who are we targeting, it's funny because we joke sometimes we're targeting everybody. We don't want just technology folks in here. We don't want just creatives. We don't want just accountants or lawyers. I think part of what helps create the community is having a mix of all of those things. And I'd say that's key for us.
Well, and that actually dispels one of the myths that we were going to talk about, which is popular co-working myth is only for startups, creatives, or IT people, which I'm sure the other feeling is it's great for millennials, but what about those of us that are older? Chad and I are young Gen Xers, right? So, but there's often this misconception that as well, along with the type of person you have to be or the industry that you work in addition to that, you have to be maybe under 35 to actually appreciate co-working.
Yep.
But that's not something we do see, though.
Not at all. In fact, our average members are more our age. I'd be curious to get your perspective on that. I mean, you're here, most days. And I think part of the myth is, and this I think speaks to the evolution of co-working as well. So in the last 5-10 years, is I think it really did start with a certain niche of people where you go into an empty space, you throw in a bunch of desks, and you have a certain type of person that comes and works there, whether it's creative or IT folks. One of the things for us that we realize is we don't want to limit, the people that come into our space, that use our space, because really we all, no matter if you work by yourself, for yourself, or you work for Fortune 500, the needs of the worker are the same, right? And so what we're doing is we're just providing a unique environment and a new way of providing what every worker needs. It's just done differently. One of the things I would say on that too is I think part of it is the misconceptions, I think, keep people from even giving co-working a chance because you think I'm too old for it, right? Or it'd be distracting, or it's going to be a bunch of hippies that go in and, just drink coffee all day and hang out and play ping pong. There are some that do that and they're great at that. But there are others of us that are geared more towards the professional services, and where you would feel proud to bring a client in here or proud to have a team meeting here. And it is going to appeal to people that, are, trying to grow their business. That's our goal. Which
is interesting because a lot of organizations are actually looking to reduce their real estate footprint.
Yep, absolutely.
And people want to be mobile, they want to be able to work from home. Like we've already talked about, 25% of the workforce currently does that on a consistent basis. So even companies as large as IBM are moving to co-working models where their folks can go work from wherever they want.
That's right.
And that, again, I go back to where we talk about the workplace needing to solve the challenges that it has within an organization, creating places for people to do their best work and creating the right environments for them to be able to collaborate and be with other people. That's why I personally support co-working as one of those solutions for workplace challenges, which kind of goes to that next myth. Is it the right environment? Is it too noisy or too distracting? Which can be.
Sure.
There are days.
Absolutely.
But I would point out to people, being a consistent user of co-working, it is a one-off scenario, and it tends to be 10 or 15 minutes here or there versus a consistent issue on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
And there are kind of rules of the road.
That's right. Some people follow more than
Some
others,
people are
right?
newbies, and you
Yeah,
can tell who has their speakerphone on.
Let's put their name on it.
Yeah.
But if it's, it's random. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we don't tend to find that being, an issue.
Yeah.
I think that's one myth. Another myth we could dispel is it's not people just under 35. It's not just tech startups. It's not
Yep.
the free
That's right.
for all with ping pong tables and everything else. It really is about, I think people are very respectful
Right.
in a community setting like that.
Yeah.
I know some places kind of have posted rules even of, if a member is wearing headphones, that means don't disturb.
Yeah.
If they've got their headphones off, you can tap them on the shoulder and have a conversation. But
Yeah.
learning how to be just as respectful as we would in a regular standard brick and mortar environment
Absolutely.
that some of us were raised in.
That's right.
Especially, I think we've kind of come from Big Four backgrounds. We get the what it felt like to be there.
That's right.
Sometimes not doing our best work because of that
Well,
environment.
I think that's the question, or that's the issue, is what is the most productive environment for people to be in?
What is the most productive environment for an employee to be in? Join us on episode 5, where we continue to talk with Chad and Corey about the workplace. Thanks for listening to the Generation Open podcast with Leader 21. If you would like to find out more about how to improve the health of your organization, or would like information on our Rapid Change program, go to our website, leader21.com. That's LDR21.com.